Jaya Ranga Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Jaya Radha Madhava Jaya Kunja Bihari. Today we are reading from Canto 2, Chapter 7, and text 51. Idam Bhagavatam Namam Yanme Bhagavato Jitam Sangrahoyam Vibhutinam Tvam etat vipulikuru Idam Bhagavatam Namam Yanme Bhagavato Jitam Sangrahoyam Vibhutinam Tvam etad vipulikuru Idam, this Bhagavatam, the science of Godhead. Nama, of the name. Yat, that which. Me, unto me. Bhagavatam, by the personality of Godhead. Uditam, enlightened. Sangraham is the accumulation of. I am his. Vibhutinam, of the diverse potencies. Tvam, your good self. Etat, this science of Godhead. Vipuli, expand. Kuru, do it. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki. O Narada, this science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of His diverse potencies. Please expand this science yourself. Purport. The Bhagavatam, in a nutshell, spoken by the personality of Godhead in about half a dozen verses, which will appear ahead, is the science of God, and it is the potent representation of the personality of Godhead. He, being absolute, is non-different from the science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam. Brahmaji received the science of Godhead from the Lord directly, and he handed over the same to Narada, who in his turn ordered Srila Vyasadeva to expand it. So the transcendental knowledge of the Supreme Lord is not mental speculation by the mundane wranglers, but is uncontaminated, eternal, perfect knowledge beyond the jurisdiction of material modes. The Bhagavata Purana is therefore the direct incarnation of the Lord in the form of transcendental sound, and one should receive this transcendental knowledge from the bona fide representative of the Lord in the chain of disciplic succession from the Lord to Brahmaji, from Brahmaji to Narada, from Narada to Vyasa, from Vyasadeva to Shukadeva Goswami, from Shukadeva Goswami to Sutta Goswami. The ripened fruit of the Vedic tree drops from one hand to another without being broken by falling suddenly from a high branch down to the earth. Therefore, unless one hears the science of Godhead from the bona fide representative of the disciplic succession, as above mentioned, for one to understand the theme of the science of Godhead will be a difficult job. It should never be heard from the professional Bhagavatam reciters who earn their livelihood by gratifying the senses of the audience. Idam Bhagavatam Nama Yanme Bhagavatoditam Sangrahoyam Vibhutinam Tvam etad vipulikuru. O Narada, this science of God, Srimad Bhagavatam, was spoken to me in summary by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and it was spoken as the accumulation of His diverse potencies. Please expand this science yourself. Magyanatimirandasya Yananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yana Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yana Bhutale Makadamayam Dadati Svapadantikam Vanchakalpatarupyasya Kripa Sindhupya Evacham Patitanam Pavanibhyo Vaishnavabhyo Namo Namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasari Gaura Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So in the purport, Srila Prabhupada says that it's in the text itself was spoken as the accumulation of his divine potencies. As an example, in the Mumbai Botanic Garden, I think it's called Chandra Bose Botanic Garden, there is the biggest banyan tree. It covers 4.67 acres, just one tree. Like, about 250 years ago, it was only one seed. Now it's expanded into the biggest tree in the world. It's 18,600 something square meters. It has, I forgot the number of the roots. So, Bhagavatam was spoken by Lord himself to the head of our Sampradaya, Lord Brahma, some time ago. It was spoken, Srila Prabhupada is mentioning here, in about half a dozen verses. So we know that the Bhagavatam, the version of the Bhagavatam that we read, contains how many verses? 18,000 verses. Some of my friends in Russia, they calculated how much time does it take to read the whole Bhagavatam. Not how much time, but how much time per one verse. If you read it non-stop for 1 week, it's about 30 seconds per verse. So you have to be really focused and concentrated, not distracted by anything else, because in that situation that was a life and death situation for Parikshit Maharaj. So Bhagavatam was spoken by Shukadeva Goswami, and it is said here that it's a ripened fruit of the Vedic knowledge, and it's the highest fruit, the highest branch of that Vedic knowledge tree, which is called Kalpataru, the desire fulfilling tree, Kalpataru. So what kind of desires can be fulfilled if we eat that fruit? Well, first of all, we need to receive it through the disciplic succession. It doesn't have to be broken. We not just climb the tree and grab it. We need to receive it from the bona fide representative of the Vedic, of the disciplic succession. So Lord Brahma gave instruction to Narada Muni, and we know from previous chapters that Narada Muni came to Vyasadeva when he was completely frustrated after compiling all the Vedas, after dividing them into more digestible kind of portions for the human society. He was still unsatisfied. And so Narada gave him instruction that, the Kali Yuga people, they're so weak, as Srila Prabhupada would mention that, demons in Kali Yuga, they do not need to be killed, they're already dead. We have, scarce energy, we have very weak intelligence, we're feeble. What can we do? We're practically like walking dead. I mean, I don't mean personally anyone here, but in general, people in Kali Yuga, even powerful demons, it's nothing comparing to the demons in the previous ages when Lord Krishna had fun killing them. So they all get liberation by being killed by Krishna. And nowadays, as I mentioned, we don't even need to be killed, already dead. But and Srila Prabhupada, fulfilling the mission of Lord Chaitanya, is giving us that ripened fruit, which is oftentimes compared to mango with no skin and no seed. And it's even called, it's even said Pibata Bhagavatam, which means drink that mango. There is no fiber, there is no skin. It's just completely, it's nectar, it's only nectar. So we just need to drink it. But as Giridhari Prabhu was mentioning the other day, that sometimes we feel eating sweet, something sweet, we feel bitter taste because of the jaundice of our consciousness. It's not the bodily jaundice, it's just our consciousness is contaminated. So we perceive nectar as a poison, and we tend to think that, take some poison as a nectar. I'm not speaking about some gross example like intoxications, but even that, people are smoking, they think it's nice. Like paying a huge amount of money for one pack of cigarette, I don't know how much is that now, like $50 or something, just to kill yourself. It's ridiculous. So the highest fruit, that transcendental mango, the Bhagavatam, why is it the highest? Because Bhagavatam is not different from Krishna. And Krishna is the highest personality in terms of rasa. In terms of tattva, the absolute truth is one. So there is no difference between Vishnu, Krishna, Lord Ramachandra, and Lord Nrsimhadev. But in rasa, Krishna is supreme. And what is rasa? It's just a relationship, what we are all after. It's sweet relationship. Even Krishna, there's different gradations of Krishna as a personality. We know that. If we go to Dvarka, the form of Krishna is called Purna, which means perfect, which is higher in rasa than Lord Ramachandra and Lord Nrsimhadev. If we go to Mathura, the form of Krishna in Mathura is called Purnatara, which means more perfect. Why is it more perfect? It's a little bit more relaxed. People in Mathura, they are aware that Krishna is God, but they are not that much restricted in rasa. But if we go to Vrindavan, the form of Krishna in Vrindavan is called Purnatama, which is most perfect. It's, the word, I remember Bhanuswami was kind of relating to, these terms, perfect, more perfect. If it's perfect, it couldn't be more perfect. But Krishna can be more perfect, and even most perfect. Because this is the highest personality, in all regards. That's why, and he is non-different from Srimad Bhagavatam. And we are so blessed having Bhagavatam classes every day here by the mercy of Srila Prabhupada. I read that there is one verse in 19th chapter of the 10th canto, that by reading it, you get a taste of the whole 10th canto. So if you don't have time, I don't know, if you're going to die tomorrow or something, just read this particular verse. And this is, you can just, put it down. It's 10, 90, 47, and actually 48. We can actually read it now. Just, I don't know why is it so, but I just heard it from my godbrother Mohan Prabhu, who is a good example for me. He is like Shukadeva Goswami for Vyasadeva and Lord Brahma, because when the great personalities came to that place where Bhagavatam was narrated, even Vyasadeva was amazed about how Shukadeva Goswami, his son, delivered Bhagavatam. He did it with so much taste, because when Shuka or parrot pecks the mango, it becomes more sweet. So, and Lord Brahma was amazed. So, such a nice rendition of Bhagavatam. So for me, my godbrother Mohan Prabhu, he's so much absorbed in reading and listening and narrating. He's giving classes almost every day. So when I hear from him, it's I don't know, something is going on, some transformation is going on just within the heart. I cannot explain it. I'm not saying that he is the only one, but that statement that 10, 90, 47 I heard from him in the lecture, I'm going to read it. It's not that long. So 10th canto. 90. It's the last chapter in 10th canto. 47. And if you open your Veda base or something, you can see that this is very unusual. What is called meter? It's very unusual. It's called. This meter is called Srag Dara. Srag means garland, and Dara means to hold. So this is in Sanskrit term for this meter, and so it's like different verses all being strung in a garland, and Srila Prabhupada just put that garland 14 times around the world. He traveled like 14 times around the world and delivered Bhagavatam every day, and delivered the holy name every day. So as again Giridhari Prabhu said that the sweetness of Krishna is permeating everything. It's just up to us whether to accept it or not. The mercy is pouring down on us, but we can open up the umbrella and happily stand, escape that mercy. What makes us escape that mercy? Well, there are two things that could be explained here. Connection and disconnection. So we all after happiness, we all striving, we're all looking for happiness, not knowing, the majority of the people, that there is a reservoir of all happiness, and this is Krishna. So we need to connect to Him. Yeah, this is the process of yoga, connection, right? When we sometimes disconnected, like a friend of mine had the Mercedes broken because the connection between the tank and the engine was broken. Yeah, the fuel pump is gone. So it brings disappointment. The car doesn't start. There's no connection. Okay. Or we can sometimes There is no water on the farm. We all oh, where is water? Where is water? We're disconnected from the source of water, right? Or electricity. So such simple examples. We need some kind of connection because we're marginal potency. We need to be associating with either spiritual energy or material energy. This is gross example, but I mean we need some connection. And the ultimate connection, if we have this pipe from Krishna, we get this nectar and we get this happiness. If it's not broken, it does exist. And another type, we are so much connected to unwanted things, right? Like sometimes we try to get rid of those farmers' friends. They just cling to us, you know, and it's hard to get rid of them. Same in our subtle body, in our mind, we have so much attachments to things which are not necessary, completely not necessary. Like I'm moving house in a few days, and underneath the house there's so many boxes. They've been sitting there for a few years. Do I need them? Probably not. But somehow or other, I'm attached to to this stuff. So connection and disconnection. We have to be connected to the proper sources, and we need to get gradually disconnected from unwanted things. So the verse I was going to read is the following. The heavenly Ganges is a holy place of pilgrimage because her waters wash Lord Krishna's feet. But when the Lord descended among the Yadus, his glories eclipsed the Ganges as a holy place. Both those who hated Krishna and those who loved him attained eternal forms like his in the spiritual world. The unattainable and supremely self-satisfied goddess of fortune, for the sake of whose favor everyone else struggles, belongs to him alone. His name destroys all inauspiciousness when heard or chanted. He alone has set forth the principles of the various disciplic successions of sages. What wonder is it that he, whose personal weapon is the wheel of time, relieved the burden of the earth? I don't know how about you. For me, it's even hard to follow the verse. That again just confirms that the intelligence is so feeble at this age. I mean, I'm speaking about myself. And sometimes we find some inconceivable statements in Bhagavatam, and we try to understand them. And sometimes it is just the brain is overheated, and we cannot grasp that. Like for example, Krishna's appearance. He appeared in two places actually. Devaki's. He came out of Devaki's womb, and he also was present in Vrindavana when actually Mother Yashoda gave birth to a girl and a boy was Krishna, and then Vasudeva, took this Krishna to Nanda Maharaja's house, and those two small boys, they became one. How come? So devotees trying to grasp that, trying to understand, sometimes futile attempts. But in the course of studying and trying to perceive those things, we get purified. And we gradually become pure devotees. That's the wonder, that's the power of Bhagavatam. We just do our best. We cannot understand Krishna. I mean, to some extent, we can. But it's impossible. He himself doesn't know why he is God. Sorry. It's really hard. But by His mercy, well, when He sees our humble attempts, He gives us His mercy and purifies our heart. Naturally, we're all attracted to Krishna because He is just all attractive, like magnet and the iron. But when the iron is rusted, there is no attraction. So when there is rust in our consciousness, in our mind, in our heart, it prevents us from being attracted to Krishna and actually makes us miserable. There is no other cause of our dissatisfaction in this world. It's just disconnection from Krishna. There is no contact with Krishna. And the question arises, why does He need us? Does He need us? He is Atmarama and Aptakama. He's all, self-satisfied and all blissful. So I want to ask you, does He really need us? Giridhari Prabhu, what do you think?
Well, no and yes.
Huh?
No and yes. Well.
No and yes. So if He, what I heard is, the explanation is that if He needs us, that means that that kind of love is conditioned, and He, it's a good question, I guess, yes and no. So if you love someone for something, that means that there's some tinge of selfishness in that love. But if you're self-satisfied, if you don't really need anyone, but you give yourself to that person, that's the pure love, real love. So He loves to love us, and He lives by our happiness as well. Because yes, He is self-satisfied and all that, and He doesn't really need anyone. Why then there's so much, going on in the spiritual world? So much relationships, so many relationships with His friends, with His beloved gopis, with His parents. That's life. That's real life. So we, in the material world, happiness is a kind of externally dynamic thing. When you're busy and when you have many friends, big social media circle, when you're traveling, length and breadth, when you need it, that feels like happiness. And for these kind of people, I've been driving Uber for like 3.5 years, and most of the people, they went, partying. It's nighttime thing, and they were all kind of exuberated, uplifted. They were all busy. Oh, where are you? And they looked kind of happy. And if, for example, they hear the message of Bhagavatam, they couldn't even understand. It's so boring. It's just beyond the comprehension. They're not interested in that, because spiritual life has dynamics, inner dynamics inside. A person can be just sitting and reading Bhagavatam and meditating on it and being so much inspired and even getting some revelations. But externally he's just sitting and reading book. It's so boring. But inside this happiness, inside Krishna is dancing, you know. Inside there is the connection, this pipe with the reservoir of happiness. And we don't really need those external things. They're just destroying the body, you know, and creating a lot of trouble. This external activity just creates trouble. I'm sure we've all had experience of some point. I'll probably end up here. It's 20 past 8. If there's any questions or comments, it's the time. That condensed form of Bhagavatam that Srila Prabhupada is speaking in this purport is called Chatur Shloka. It's in ninth canto of the ninth chapter of the second canto. It's as I said, it's condensed version, but it's hard to perceive the whole Bhagavatam through those 4 verses because they were spoken to Lord Brahma, who has 4 heads. So for him it was enough. But again, it's very important verses, and they are going to be studied here in some time soon. Yeah. There is also Chatur Shloka in Bhagavad Gita, in 10th canto. 10th chapter, sorry. Yeah. Yes.
There's a comment thinking about Bhagavatam. It's interesting that the Bhagavatam is the teachings of our Sampradaya, but it's also the history of our Sampradaya. It explains what's in the text, the transmission from Krishna to Brahma, from Brahma to Narada, to Vyasadeva. And it's given like very explicit detail of how it was transmitted. The message was transmitted, so it's the message and it's the history of the teachings also are included within the Bhagavatam. Especially the second canto, starting to see the connections. It's a lot of connecting the dots between the source where the message of the Bhagavatam is coming from. So like after this chapter, we'll hear there's Maharaj Parikshit asks a few more questions, and then Shukadeva Goswami explains how the Lord spoke to Narada, or how the Lord spoke to Brahma, and then we're hearing now Brahma speaking to Narada. So it's like it's not in order, but it's like you have to make the connections between.
Yeah, that's
it's not chronologically being spoken.
Thank you for your comment. I have a comment on your comment, if you don't mind.